Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our inaugural episode of Pro Wrestling Throwdown. I'm one of your co-hosts, Kaleb Blaque. This is your other co-host, Luke, the Big Dawg Williams. Luke, how are we doing today?
Doing all right today.
It is our May 2nd, 2020 edition. First thing, we're going to get right into it. We're going to talk about what's news in wrestling right now, the hot topic, Black Wednesday.
Oh, boy. All right. That's a lot to cover, so go ahead. Let's jump into, let's see, who all was released.
All right. It's an extensive list. Black Wednesday was a day 2 weeks ago where the WWE liquidated a bunch of talent assets. We're just going to name them off. A couple more have been added to the list since then, and I may be missing one or two, but we're going to give you the general gist. Kurt Angle, Rusev, Drake Maverick, Carl Anderson, Luke Gallows, Eric Young, EC3, Kurt Hawkins, Lio Rush, Primo and Epico, Heath Slater, Aiden English, Sarah Logan, Mike Chioda, Rowan, Maria and Mike Kanellis, Zack Ryder, No Way Jose, Cassius Ohno, Tino Sabatelli, Curtis Axel, Lance Storm, Gerald Briscoe, Finley, Shane Helms, Alexander Jasek, Deonna Purrazzo, and Cain Velasquez. Now, there may be one or two missing off that list, but that's your general consensus. A bunch of talent was let go a couple of weeks ago on Wednesday. Let's talk about it.
Well, I mean, it's really a shame. I mean, I understand what WWE's doing.
Sure.
I understand that due to the stocks and the XFL and the coronavirus and all that, I understand you got to get rid of some people.
Yeah.
But half that list, why?
Well, and then you think about some of these guys have been with the company for almost 10 years.
Yeah.
Over 10 years.
Yeah.
Some of the guys, Kurt Angle? You released Kurt Angle.
Well, see, I understand somewhat about Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle was just was like an ambassador backstage.
He was.
Guy. Again, though, on the other part of that is you're going to get rid of an ambassador like Kurt Angle, but you're going to keep an ambassador like Titus O'Neil.
Right.
Makes no sense.
And that's the other thing. The worst part of this is they've got a $500 million cash reserve.
Truth.
Even after filing bankruptcy, we understand they're not drawing a lot of revenue, but some of these guys could have got paid. And then when you tune in, the last 2 weeks, we've seen a ton of developmental guys being used, and I'm not knocking the developmental guys.
No. I understand.
Couldn't you have saved that spot for a Curtis Axel or a Kurt Hawkins?
First off, with the whole Curtis Axel thing, I mean, he's so much talent.
Yeah. Third generation superstar.
Very underutilized, I guess is
Completely
where I'm going with
underutilized.
That. Also, I mean, the blow off on WWE.com, giving the man a 2-sentence send off.
Good luck in your future endeavors, bud.
We released former Intercontinental Champion. How about the son of Kurt Hennig, the grandson of Larry the Axe Hennig? Yeah. I mean, give the man his credit. He's a tag team champion. I mean, he'd been around since the inception of NXT.
Well, and what do you think happens to Bo Dallas now? Obviously, they're not going to fire him because
very lucky that his brother is.
That's the other. They let the other Rotunda go.
Well, they did.
IRS.
I forgot.
Which is a weird.
We'll let your daddy go,
decision
but
to
we'll
make.
keep your brother that we haven't had on TV in 20 years. Yeah.
And outside of the legends, and outside of the fact that Lance Storm closed his school to take that job.
That's a shame.
Finley, who's been a road agent and a producer for the last 10, 15 years.
Of course, to be fair, some of these agents were only furloughed and have the option to bring them back. Also, some of them are working on a pay-by-pay basis.
And then Rusev. One of your top-drawing superstars.
Should have left a long time ago.
He should have left, sure. But they just cut him without any fanfare, without any... And his wife is still there, who's a prime part of this storyline with Bobby Lashley.
That's what WWE does. WWE, if you make yourself over with the fans organically, don't do it. You're on borrowed time by them because WWE only cares about making stars that they want to make.
I completely agree with that.
And Aiden English, who was also released.
Yeah.
The Rusev Day stuff was by far some of the best stuff in the last 3 or 4 years.
Heath Slater's got kids. What about his kids?
Well, I mean, he's going to have a hell of an unemployment check coming, that's for sure.
Outside of that, obviously Drake Maverick's still in the Cruiserweight title tournament.
I'll believe he's let go when I see it.
Yeah, if he doesn't win, it's going to be an awful shame.
It'd definitely be a loss in what they could have done.
Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows, part of one of the absolute best groups and most recognized groups. One of the most seasoned tag teams in the business.
Most definitely.
And
hard to argue that.
They just let them go after they were featured in the main event of Night 1 of WrestleMania.
Well, I mean, there isn't a better send-off than to be sent out after being taken out by The Undertaker.
Well, no, yeah.
Storyline-wise. But regardless, them and the Revival. 2 tag teams that now that they are free, I should say, free of all the publicity, the bad publicity WWE does. Maybe they'll be able to go and do some real work.
Well, and see, that's the other part too. If you're AEW, even given today's current financial climate, do you book both the Revolt and Gallows and Anderson?
No.
Can they afford that expenditure right now? Number 2, obviously booking the Revolt it should be on their top priority list. I'm not going to say booking Gallows and Anderson at the same time wouldn't be, but how are you going to give the fanfare required to bring in one tag team on a solid basis and not the other?
Well, the thing is with teams is, although they're vastly different wrestlers, the tag teams still pretty much stay the same. They're both hard-nosed tag teams.
Yeah.
It's hard to bring in 2 highly known tag teams of the same, like I said, basically the same kind of tag team.
Right.
Same level, skill level, same popularity level, and bring them both in at the same time without damaging one or the other tag team.
Right. I think that internationally, Gallows and Anderson would be better suited going back to Japan.
Agreed.
I know that Impact's interested, and honestly, they could change the landscape of Impact if
they could go to Ring of Honor.
They could go to Ring of Honor. Nice. Yeah, they've got options, and so do the Revolt. I mean, we could be saying the Revolt's going to end up at AEW, and they could end up anywhere else.
Well, I think that with AEW, the only other place really that I think they would fit in would be NWA Power.
They would, but NWA couldn't pay them the money that they're worth.
Well, now that's not entirely true. They could make some kind of deal for royalties on T-shirts.
Well, sure.
I mean, they could make their money.
They could make some money. They certainly. I don't know.
The NWA travels. I mean, there's more sections of the NWA than just the Power.
True, and they could sell. I mean, they could sell arenas for the NWA collectively.
Yeah,
I don't doubt that at all.
Pay-per-view buy rates.
Jared Briscoe has been with the company forever.
He's one of the original Stooges.
And released.
I would have released Pat Patterson before I would have released
You shut your
Briscoe.
mouth about Pat Patterson.
Briscoe had more to offer.
No, I agree. So the entire landscape right now. Oh, Cain Vasquez. They put a lot of money behind him, a lot of stock into him coming over from the UFC. He's gone.
I think the stock that they put into him was on name basis only. I think Vince didn't know what he was going to get.
No, and I completely agree with that.
Also, with that big a contract for not doing anything, it was kind of smart to release it.
I agree, but the subject matter is still there. They bring him in, they pay him all this money, and then they just cut him without really getting us any more opportunity to see if he's got more in-ring capability than they showcase.
They brought him in for, a spot on SmackDown segment. Yeah. Maybe it was 4 minutes long, and a match that was over in 3. So, I mean, there was no payoff. There should have been a return match. It never happened.
No.
I hear because he got hurt. I don't know if that's factual. I'm not going to say that's what it was.
Yeah.
That's what I hear. Big disappointment, in my opinion. Could have went so much further.
Well, that is the first portion of the news. This, mind you, this is a recap. We're starting this. We're going over after everything we've heard the last couple of weeks, last couple of months, because this is our inaugural episode. The other part of the news is obviously rest in peace, Fink.
Yes.
Bar none, greatest ring announcer in history, right? I mean,
he could have announced people brushing their teeth in the morning, and I'd have loved it.
And arguably the nicest guy in wrestling. Was the first.
He
was the first real employee of Titan Towers,
yes.
Titan Sports.
Yes.
One of the most longevitous employees, and
he named WrestleMania.
He did. That's a fact.
I mean,
Wikipedia that.
Named it. Wasn't WrestlePalooza or WrestleFest. WrestleMania.
WrestleFest. So that is what's news in wrestling for the week of May 2nd, 2020. There's going to be a lot more news. This is just our first segment. There's going to be a lot more to this podcast. We're going to break it up for you guys. That's what's news in wrestling. Stay tuned.
Don't forget to hit that button.
Like, subscribe. Okay. If there's news that we didn't cover that you want to hear us cover, please shoot us an email at ProWrestlingThrowdown@gmail.com or leave us a comment. We'll like it. We'll respond to it, and we'll cover it next week when we cut the May 9th episode of Pro Wrestling Throwdown. That's going to close us up for What's News. Stay tuned for This Week in Wrestling coming up right now.